Welcome to Madison, Wisconsin for the 2023 Big Ten Cross Country Championships at the Thomas Zimmer Championship Course. Should be a great morning here from Madison, Wisconsin. We're glad you're with us. Former Michigan State Spartan, Alexis Alston. I'm Connor Onion. Michigan State, the highest rated team nationally in this event. They're trying to go back-to-back today.
Yeah, they're definitely a team favorite coming to this matchup today. And, of course, they're a historically well-known program. You know they're going to want to come out here and perform with leaders like Katie Osika and McKenna Veen.
Well, this is what we have in store for us as far as the course. Running 6K today. There's an uphill at the end of this course that's going to be really challenging.
But to start, they're going to go a 600-meter straightaway with a right turn into that 1K mark, continue on an outer loop to the 2K, and then once again back over the start line to reach the halfway point. This is where it's going to really start to hurt. They're going to climb uphill leading into the 4K, and again, a hard 2K push to get to the gradual uphill finish, and we all know that's going to burn.
It didn't stop Addie Engel and Katie Osika from going 1-2 in last year's cross-country championship.
Addie Engel, yeah, the former individual champion in this race. She's the first Buckeye to do that on both the men and women's program. But Katie Osika, she's going to come out here and want to give Addie a run for that position.
Katie Osika definitely wins the headshot battle. Medals around her neck next to Addie Engel. So off and rolling 6K, which is equivalent to 3.7 miles in this cross-country championship.
And to start out, you want to make sure you don't go out too fast. The adrenaline usually gets to some of these girls, and they tend to go out a little fast, but you want to be more reserved in conditions like this because it's going to be more challenging.
And a little bit moist on the course. It's rained over the past couple of days.
It's rained over the past couple of days, and the boys just ran right before them, so we know the course is going to be extra muddy.
And Wisconsin won the team title on the men's side. Their 54th ever dominant for the Badgers. It's Michigan State on the women's side trying to go back-to-back.
We can expect to see leaders like Katie Osika out front in this race, as we already talked about her.
When do you expect to start to see some separation between the top two that we highlighted?
The first 2K, I would say they're going to be pretty neck and neck, even going into 3K. What's really going to put these two apart is when they get to those uphill positions, because an uphill really makes a difference. It's whether you have that push or not to start creating separation.
Well, in this straightaway, about a 15-mile-per-hour wind at the back of these runners.
Which means, unfortunately, there will be parts of this course will they have that headwind as well.
Erica Vanderland, also a runner to look out for that we haven't mentioned. Behind Engel and Osika. She's running for Michigan. It was those two, 1-2 last year, Engel and Osika for Ohio State and Michigan State.
For the most part, early on, we can expect to see the group pretty much staying together.
The 2K, 3K, that's when it'll start to break up, right?
They'll start to break up just around then, yep. When we start to see those hills come into play. And right now it's so crucial just to find your positioning because like we already talked about, it's muddy out there. It's hard to find footing. So you want to make sure you're out in front.
We're approaching the 1K marker. This is what you were just talking about, Lexi. The straightaway to begin wraps all the way around to that 1K marker.
And of course, then you get to that 2K mark and then back over the start line to reach the halfway point where I already said is that's when it's going to start to hurt the most, going into these uphill spots, leading us back to the 4K and into the finish line.
What's the biggest impact on this course from having the men's race before this? How does that impact you?
Like I said, just the fact that they were already running on it and we know there's mud and there's just the rain and all that just destroying the course.
Addie Engel, Katie Osika, the two lead candidates to go 1-2 again, returning from last year's championships when Engel won her first.
I'm excited to see those two really go head-to-head in this, especially with Katie Osika. This is her last conference race.
Where do you go strategy-wise as you get into this second kilometer?
Really, you just want to get into your own space because you want to be able to basically choose what ground you're running on. So you don't want to be too close to somebody else as well because they're going to be elbowing you. You've got to kind of create your own little area. We can see the entry list popping up for each Big Ten school. You're allowed to run 12 people, typically your 12 best runners. And we know cross-country teams can get up to 50 people, but only 12 can actually run at this type of level.
Well, that's an expanded field from several years ago. The last 2 years, the field expanded to the 12 runners.
Yep, and then, of course, you know, when you get to regionals and you go farther on, it goes down to 8. We can see our leaders out front, Katie Osika, Eddie Engel right here.
Osika middle of the pack there. Engel to her left.
Candy Windermuller, I believe you already mentioned her, off the shoulder as well right there.
This is a bit of a slower pace than last year. Is that condition-based, do you think?
It's definitely condition-based. Of course, this course is typically a very fast course where you'll see those PRs, but due to the condition, I'm expected to see slower times. We know all these athletes are capable of running such fast times. I mean, typically you're going through in like a 3:06, but they ran through in about a 3:20.
So something to track on the muddy course today. Even the lead cart is off the course. The Gator is off the main course to preserve some of that traction.
Yeah, they made that decision in order to ensure that these athletes are safe, and they just didn't want, you know, that cart to cause more damage to this course. Thankfully, most of these girls got to come out here and practice a couple days before and kind of get an understanding of the course, so they don't need the lead cart necessarily. I mean, they can still see it off to the side, but it's still always nice to have that.
As expected, Osika and Engel right at the head of the pack. 1.5K in.
Daniela Santos also up there for Ohio State, running alongside her teammate.
Michigan State looking to win back-to-back team titles. You have Ohio State led by Addie Engel, also a contender for a team title. But Nebraska is a young upstart team. They have a couple of freshman runners that could be a problem for the rest of the Big Ten as time goes on here.
Yeah, I don't think you can count any teams out, really, truly, honestly. I mean, even you mentioned Nebraska, but Wisconsin is up there as well. We can see a couple girls, you know, that mud is getting to them. You see people slipping. Part of going downhill is you really want to just open up your stride. You want to use that downhill to your advantage. You don't want to waste too much energy because you truly don't need to.
Of course, just kind of takes you with it, right?
Yeah, just let it flow. Go with the flow. Truly go with the flow. Starting to see a bit more separation between these girls as we get to the 2K mark here.
As you pace your way through the first 4K, how much is that final 2K that's mostly uphill on your mind?
Honestly, the adrenaline comes back to you in that final 2K. Like I mentioned, from the beginning, you had that adrenaline. The middle truly is the hardest part of the race, and we're approaching the middle now. That's when you're kind of really tapping into the mentality part. 90% of running is mental. You know, it's not your ability that propels you. It's just your mental grit. It's you against the clock.
Other 10% physical?
No, the other 10% is physical, yeah. You gotta have that ability to run a little bit.
I didn't know if this was going to turn into Remember the Name by Fort Minor.
One of the really crucial parts of running cross country is you want to kind of give yourself a target. You want to find somebody to lock into.
'23 Big Ten Cross Country Championships from Madison, Wisconsin at the Thomas Zimmer Championship course. Great to be here on an early Saturday. We're glad you're with us. Former Michigan State Spartan, Alexis Alston. I'm Connor Onion. Michigan State, the highest ranked team in this event. They're number 13 nationally, going for back-to-back Big Ten titles. I
mean, Michigan State is a historically well-known program for this type of event, and I think there's high expectations on that from Coach Lisa Bresna and just the team in general to come out here and get that title again.
Well, a very challenging course. There's been some rain in the area, so it's a wet course and also challenging even on a perfectly dry day.
You're going to have open up with a 600-meter straightaway with a right turn into the 1K mark and continue on an outer loop to bring you to that 2K mark. And then you're going to go back over the start line to reach the halfway point. This is when it really starts to burn. And you're going to have to climb uphill, get to that 4K, and then the final 2K push on a gradual uphill to get to that finish line.
So a challenging back half of the course. Our top contenders, Addie Engel, last year's champion, and Katie Osika, who wears the medallions around her neck.
Addie was the first ever individual champ for the Buckeyes on both the men and women's side to earn that title. But Katie Osika, don't count her out. I believe she's going to come out here and try to give Addie a run for her money.
McKenna Veen, also a top contender, the teammate of Katie Osika. So here we go, 6K race, 3.7 miles around the track here in Madison, Wisconsin.
You want to make sure you don't get out too fast right now. Adrenaline's high, but you want to make sure you kind of find your pacing. Be conservative, especially with conditions like this. You want to make sure you save some of that energy for the later parts of this course.
The men's race before this, Wisconsin winning on the men's side in their home course.
Sure, the Wisconsin women are looking to do that same. Get that home. They have the home course. Always want to represent.
Well, Leanne Williams might have something to say about that.
She's been a fantastic runner for Wisconsin throughout this whole season. And I no doubt believe that she'll be up in this front pack.
So separation usually comes around 2K to 3K, right? So how do you handle the first part of this race before you get there?
You want to kind of create your own space. As you can see, the girls are all very tightly compact. You're elbowing each other. You're hitting each other. Just create your own space. Kind of find your own footing. Get in your own pace. Don't stress too early.
You got some battle wounds?
Oh, yeah. I got some battle wounds. Spikes is another big thing. You know, you're running right behind people. Their feet are kind of kicking back. It's typical that you'll get spiked, especially in a race like this where it's so competitive.
What's the worst one you got?
It's on my shin.
Ouch.
Right up
Spike
my
to the
shin. Spike to the shin. And you got to keep running.
Spike marks, they're all just memories, right? We're almost through this first K, 2 minutes in. What do you expect to be the winning time today with the conditions in this course taking into consideration?
This is typically a fast course. You'll typically see 19s, pretty low 19s, but with the conditions, I think we're going to be around 20-minute mark, maybe slightly over. Here we have another look at the course with that long 600-meter straightaway. But really, what is the most difficult part about this type of course is those slight inclines. It happens more than once. It's going to happen going into that final 2K push, and that's when you're going to feel that burn. You're going to really need to work hard. And the hills are actually very important in this race, too, because it can be utilized in your advantage.
How do you train for the hills? Is it as simple as you just run hills?
I know from my time at Michigan State, we would make a whole day dedicated to practicing hills. Repeat hills. It was not my favorite practices, but it was worthwhile.
That also could have been the answer to the battle wounds question.
We have another look at our race contenders, Addie Engel and Katie Osika. Expected to see them out front here battling toe-to-toe.
Wisconsin Badgers on their home course won the men's race earlier, their 54th title ever. An incredible run for cross country at Wisconsin. They edged out Michigan and Michigan State. And
to do it on your home course, that's got to be a great feeling. I know those women are probably trying to come out here and do that today as well.
At the 2.5K mark, Penn State was leading at the 2K mark. One of the top contenders, Katie Osika, in first place.
Katie Osika, yes, we see her again. It's a pretty reserved race so far. They're being pretty conservative. But what interests me the most right now is that Penn State is leading. That means there's a lot of Lions up there early on. But again, it's so early. And as you know, the scoring goes the top 5 runners on each team. You add their place up. That's how you get a team. That's how you total the team points.
Lexi, you know this better than anybody. Michigan State has a reputation, sitting there in second place, to be second half racers.
Oh, yes. As a former runner myself, I know the emphasis that Michigan State puts on being second half racers. It's really not about how you start. It's about how you finish. At least our team knows that. So I'm expecting to see, once we get towards that halfway mark, which we're approaching right now, to see some of these girls start to kick it.
Well, Penn State not expected to be one of the top couple contenders. Michigan State and Ohio State definitely caught our attention.
Couple teams up there hanging out right now, having some pretty strong runners early on, but again, it's early. We're going to start to see them fall off.
Kane and Ullum in 12th and 13th. Those are the top two runners for the Nittany Lions right now. So it's kind of this pack mentality of 16th, 17th, a couple of runners in the 20s as well for Penn State.
You can see right here that it's only a couple seconds difference between these front runners right now.
Midway through the race officially. At the 10-minute mark, we get to 3K.
The midway mark, this is when it starts to hurt. You have to really check back into your mentality. Focus in, lock in, control your breathing, as we see these girls right now, focusing on their stride, focusing on their breathing. You want to run relaxed, drop your shoulders, pick up your legs, pick up your knees.
Who's the best example of that in this group right here?
Katie Osika and Addie Engel are both looking very good right now. You can kind of see some distress on some of the other ladies' faces right now.
They know the reputation of the two runners ahead of them.
But they're doing a fantastic job keeping up with them. What I like to see right now is that McKenna Veen is up here. McKenna Veen and Katie Osika, they're training partners on a regular basis. So for them right now, this is probably feeling like just a practice, an everyday practice. And for most of these girls, find your teammate, lock in with them, stay with them.
Just a casual run through East Lansing.
Just a casual run. Bring each other along.
It's a mid-distance runner. This was about the time you would jump off the trail, right?
Oh, yeah. So this is when I would see my way out. I'd have that lactic acid way earlier.
I'll see myself out. The two training partners, McKenna Veen with Katie Osika.
We just saw McKenna make that move to the outside of Katie Osika. She really wants to kind of go hip and hip with her. That's one thing they practice on a daily basis. And I know it's probably a comfort to Katie to also see her teammate right there next to her, because they're running for each other right now. At the end of the day, it's also a team sport. You want to bring each other along.
Well, their strides are in lockstep right now.
Mm-hmm. Again, you just matching each other's energy, fighting for each other. It's mental. All of this is mental. Fight for each other. Fight for your team. And I think Coach Lisa Bresnau does a really good job establishing that mentality on the Michigan State team.
Well, this is the part of the race where, Lexi, you said we were about to see some separation. We're also about to get into the uphill part of this race, the most challenging part of the course.
This is when we're going to see some girls either make their move or potentially fall off. One of the biggest things is being strong on hills, and this is where you can create that separation. So we're going to see who is strong on these hills and who might struggle a little bit more. Right now, all our lead runners, McKenna Veen, Katie Osika, Addie Engel, all looking very calm still.
As we mentioned before, Michigan State has the highest ranking in the Big Ten, number 15 in the country. Wisconsin, number 22. Ohio State receiving votes, led by Addie Engel at the front of the pack here.
You can see Leanne Willemsa from Wisconsin here, hanging on to that front pack as well right now, doing a great job.
Somebody that knows this course well, right?
Mm-hmm. Here we see a great shot of this uphill. Addie doing a phenomenal kick right here. Katie hanging on a little bit. We see McKenna, we see Leanne falling off just slightly, but again, it's a long hill.
Addie Engel leading into the final third of this race, bidding for back-to-back Big Ten titles individually.
Addie's starting to really pull away now.
14 minutes to run the first 4K. And team splits at 4K. Michigan State from second up to first. And Penn State, who was leading, has dropped down, well, some movement for Penn State in real time from sixth back up to second.
I mean, this is constantly, it just fluctuated again. It's constantly going to be fluctuating as these girls are crossing that 4K mark.
Several strides ahead for Addie Engel.
Like, she used that hill to her advantage. That's so important. She's clearly strong on that hill. We just saw a move by Leanne back there. If you noticed it, she saw a mud pile right there and quickly made her way to the outside of the course. That's all about choosing your footing, choosing your ground, avoiding the slippage that most of these girls are probably struggling with right now.
Well, Williams up to fourth for Wisconsin and trying to make a move past Osika and Veen, and just did make the move into third place. And here she comes into second behind Addie Engel.
Addie really pulling ahead right now. She's making a fantastic run in this last 2K, clearly pushing it. She still looks very relaxed. You know, a lot of people might say she doesn't have the best mechanics to her running, but it's working so well for her, and she has a very phenomenal career so far, just within her couple years.
If you were to craft the perfect technique, how would you change what Addie Engel does?
Oh, man. I mean, I don't know if there's any such thing as a perfect technique, but of course you want to make sure you're not carrying your arms. It's a lot easier said than done. You want to make sure you're not carrying your arms. You want to make sure you're picking up your knees. You want to make sure you're not dragging your feet. It's all very hard, especially when you get to the last 1K, which these girls are approaching too. We'll start to see their form kind of break down a little bit more as we're going into the home.
Williams still in second. Osika and Veen right behind her. Looking like Addie Engel is going to cruise to a second straight Big Ten championship.
A little surprised to see Katie Osika not up there with her right now. I mean, we had high expectations. This is her last conference meet. Was really hoping that she would be up there.
Approaching the 5K mark and the most challenging part of the course.
Yeah, this is when you really start to feel that lactic acid, that lower back pain. Your calves start to hurt, your feet start to hurt. Everything just starts to hurt. But on the bright side, your adrenaline is starting to kick back in as well.
Nothing seems to be stopping Addie Engel.
No, Addie is keeping her stride, pushing strong, but I really like the fact that Leanne is still trying to compete with her, she's locked in on her, trying to get back up there.
You got people at this part of the course on the sides here. Is she getting any intel on how big her lead is?
So when you're training, you always have a watch on. We always train with watches on so we can have our pace, we can have our splits. But when it comes to competition, it's a distraction. You take your watch off. So you have to rely on these people you see on the outside of the course, your coaches, your teammates, your parents, your family, your friends. They're the ones who are giving you your splits, your paces, your times. You have to listen to them because we don't run with our watches.
So you think she's aware based on the feedback she's getting that she's got Williams in her wake right now?
Yep, they're definitely giving what type of distance they have between her, feeding her that type of information. But she's not looking too worried. Again, still running super comfortably.
This is the part of the course that has that headwind. Closing in the final 1K here.
And it's slightly inclined, so a headwind and an incline. Definitely a difficult part of the race.
Williams on her home course in second. Osika closely behind.
Just minutes away now from that finish line. Addie just trying to keep her eyes up, trying to keep her eyes 10 feet forward. Always just look a little bit in front of you.
Well, she hasn't turned her head to look at some of those signs that are flashing in her face.
Right now, she's just focused on keeping her head up, keeping her head 10 feet in front of you. Just keep telling yourself 10 feet, 10 feet, 10 feet. That's all you got.
Addie Engel last year was the first Ohio State Buckeye male or female, to win a Big Ten cross-country championship individually. History last year, she might put history out of reach if she can do it again.
She is no doubt leaving her mark on this program, not even just cross-country, but you have to look at her being a phenomenal athlete on the track, indoor and outdoor.
Won an outdoor championship last spring to go with her cross-country title in the fall. She too might have a headshot soon with a bunch of medals around her neck.
She's put quite a gap on that next runner right now, just bringing it home. The lead cart back out there.
Williams in second, McKenna Veen in third, Katie Osika in fourth place. But all eyes on a potential back-to-back champion. Engel into the home stretch here.
Just seconds away now from earning her second title. Here we can see the finish line right here as they bring it in.
Fans making their run to get a look at history.
I was just about to say, there's no better feeling than when you're on that home stretch and the fans are gathering, you hear the screaming, you see it, you know you're about to be done running, but then you cross the line and it's just pain.
Collapse.
Yeah.
Engel looks like she could run a while longer.
I'm sure she probably will. One of the crucial things about this race is that when you get done running, you cannot just stay still. You actually have to go down. You have to go cool down. You basically have to continue running.
And history for Ohio State and Addie Engel, back-to-back Big Ten titles, and she makes it look even easier than last year.
I think this is something that doesn't surprise a lot of people. I think there was high expectations for Addie coming into this, and I don't think there was a lot to be surprised about. Katie Osika, however, and McKenna Veen slightly out-nudged her on this. I think that was something that is going to surprise a couple people.
They were stride for stride in the middle of the course.
But a phenomenal performance by McKenna Veen. I mean, that's got to feel great. But again, they worked together throughout that race.
Engel, Williams, Veen, Osika, and Hessler, the top five. And now each move from each individual is going to start tallying up team points. Michigan State front runner for now, but this is going to change in a hurry here too.
See these girls just collapsing once they cross that line, crawling over the line. Just that pain catching up to them. You have to really commend these girls on what they do. They put their bodies on line. There's no type of pain like running. I've done many things, and this is by far one of the most painful things you could do.
The end of the race.
The end of the race.
What do you do to ease the pain?
You got to keep moving. I know it's really hard, but you have to keep moving. All these trainers out here running to get to these athletes, trying to tell them you have to keep moving, you have to keep moving. And another thing is, this is called the chute. You want to make sure you clear the athletes out to make room for these oncoming athletes, because you just want to stop. You just want to stop.
Addie Engel there to support her teammates. And staying on her feet after another championship run.
A significant gap right now. Michigan State in the lead by quite a bit.
Remember, Michigan State trying to go for back-to-back championships.
Top 5 runners on each team is how you get the team score.
Williams first on her home course, going at second for the Wisconsin Badgers, right in front of Veen and Osika. A comfortable lead for Michigan State. And we're getting close to that territory where they've got it locked up and clinched.
The score should just be about added up.
Let's go to Sarah, who has the winner, Addie Engel.